Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week's theme of indie rock, checking out a band that I've never even heard of before, not even in passing. The name rings zero bells. It is San Fermin. The track we're looking at is called Sonsick or Sonsick. I don't know, it's all one word, so I suppose it's probably Sunsick though. Yeah, let's dive into this and see what's going on. Oh yeah, it's an Audiotree live, so Audiotree never fails. Maybe we can find a decent place when I'm old enough. Fall love in an empty place. Try to fix it up. I found me a hopeless case. Oh, oh, I'll fall for you soon enough. I resolve to love. Now I know it's just another fuck, 'cause I'm old enough. Sad lies like they're only drugs, here to pick me up. Yeah, very chill vibes. Laid back, sparse instrumentation, wide soundscape. Love those harmonies. That was a beautiful, and the lead up into it. Yeah!
All right. Audiotree Live with San.
Interesting way to end that. It's a very abrupt turnaround. We'll have to start digging into things. The ending makes no sense to me right now as it stands, but possibly once I start digging into things, it'll make more sense. So this is Indie Rock Week. I kind of feel some indie rock here, but it also feels just like pop to me in a lot of ways, but in the best of ways, right? So we have very clear, clean production. We have well, the vocals are just very poppy. Both the high power or full body delivery and the quieter verse stuff, both of them are just very pop style. Musically, it's very poppy, not the electro pop stuff that is very popular these days, but more so the I don't know if there's a specific term for it, but uh, pop music that utilizes, if not acoustic instruments, then samples of acoustic instruments. Um, Stuff like Gautier comes to mind. Um, so yeah, just based on the sonic identity here of the overall tone of it all, I'd say it's pop music. It has a little rock leaning to it, so maybe pop rock, but uh, maybe this also falls under indie rock because, as we've discussed this week, indie rock is a sound, but it's also a budget and it's also a record label descriptor. So, it could be a lot of things. This probably is indie rock. It's a large umbrella. You guys have helped me see that. Let's get into what's happening musically. We start off with a piano and very quiet, withheld vocals. Uh, Decent airflow, air pressure, but low volume. Very intimate, and we eventually work in a few of the other lines. We get some harmonies on the vocals. We begin to bring in these quieter, suspended notes on our horn section. The piano, somewhere along the line, shifts over to a keyboard, and the guitar comes in. And this slowly leads us into a huge crescendo into our first chorus. Now, most of what our instruments are doing here are atmospheric. There aren't a lot of moving lines going on in this first verse, in the sparseness of these instruments coming in. It really is just setting a mood while also setting up for this massive crescendo and layering into the chorus. The second verse does more stuff with the rest of the instruments, but for a first verse, it's primarily fixated on setting the scene and getting ready to get into the chorus. We move into the chorus and we shift our vocals from that quiet, restrained style into this bombastic moment of full powered, full bodied, just massively projected vocals. And this is something I should have brought up in the verse, is that the vocal, well, I did kind of, there's air pressure behind them. They don't sound weak or timid, but they are very quiet. They bring a timidness to them through volume, not by a lack of air pressure. but there's not a lot of projection to it. The vocals come out of her mouth, or the sound comes out of her mouth and stops somewhere around here, around the microphone. It's a very quiet sound. It's not something people across the room would be able to hear, but by the time she gets into the chorus, she is belting. She has projection. If she were on a stage in a theater, the people in the back would be able to hear her. To me, this showcases a ton of vocal training, which I think is interesting. We don't talk about this too often on the channel, but a lot of the bands that come across my ear that we end up checking out, I get the notion that they're all self-taught, both compositionally and musician. Um, and we don't really talk about it too often because I feel like it's just a de facto thing about rock and metal. There are certainly some bands who have classical training, either in vocals or on their instrument or in composition. Um, but for the most part, I kind of get the notion, a lot of stuff is self-trained. But here, I definitely feel a lot of uh, vocal education that she's taken. Just in all of the ways that she controls and commands her voice. Now, maybe not. Maybe she is completely self-trained, and she just picked this up, while trying to emulate some of her favorite vocalists. But there's such a command here that, at least to me, it sounds like someone who's been trained in the art of singing. But just the raw projection and the fact that she can hold these notes out as well. Breath control is just like a massive thing on this. Um, just it is the cornerstone to the entire song. So much of the emotional aspect comes out through this. Now, we do have two other vocals come in. They were providing harmony on our vocals. Well, one of them was. The backup female vocalist was providing harmonies in our verse, but now we get to the chorus and we have our backup female and backup male vocals jump in. And rather than providing harmonies with our lead singer, who is just going off the rails with this belting, they have their own part that they harmonize with each other in a column response. They sing something and our lead vocalist retorts, and then they say something and our lead vocalist retorts. I don't know if that's actually how the lyrics are set up, but that's what it feels like. They have this very calming, soothing, almost monotonous kind of style that stands in stark contrast to our lead vocalist being extremely emotive in her delivery. It's almost like two opposing sides here. Our horns are mostly doing suspended ideas. There are a couple of licks in there that help some movement between notes, but they're laying down foundational ideas. Interestingly, the trumpet is providing a small bit of counterpoint to what the vocals are doing, just as another instrument in that range, but the saxophone is taking the role of the bass guitar, and so many of the ideas that the sax is playing are things that in a traditional rock band the bass guitar would do, in which case we hear a lot of pedal tones and rhythmic ideas on pedal tones, on root notes. It's very much just a typical low-end foundational top concept. And the piano is laying down our chords. Something interesting I haven't talked about yet is the drums, as was visual in the video, holds one of his sticks in his mouth in order to use a shaker during the verses and grabs the stick to have a more full kit experience in the chorus. This lines up very well with the ebb and flow of the song, which is restrained and opened up, where our verses are more restricted. They are quieter, they are less dense, they are less layered. And we move into choruses that are more full-bodied, they're opening up, they're very large compositions. And so moving down to a single stick and a shaker definitely fills this. And this was actually something I asked myself while watching this, was why is he holding the stick in his mouth? And, I was thinking, you could probably hold the stick and the shaker and still get the shaker going, and then you would still have a stick. Granted, it would have to be on whatever the rhythm the shaker is on, which was that eighth notes? Quarter notes maybe? Depending on if you want to count the shimmer from the up, what would we call that? The up shake? Because a shaking motion has a down and an up, right? And when you come from the up and you go to the other direction, you're going to get a little shimmer off of that, even if it's not as hard as an attack of your down shake, the one that's going to be on the downbeat. It has this tick-tock idea, not like the app, but like a clock, where your ticks are lighter than your talks. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, right? So you have the tst, 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 right? A soft hit and a hard hit. So technically eighth notes, but the emphasized ones are always on the downbeat, and you can't really have a non-emphasized upper one without muting it. So anyways, though, the thing is that if you put the drumstick in there, you could still use the drumstick as long as you hit on downbeats. But then I was like, no, see, the thing is that this is supposed to be more downplayed. It's supposed to be restrictive. It's supposed to be a smaller idea. So moving to one stick might just help the drummer restrain themselves if they just physically, personally, naturally is the word I think I want to use both hands. So you just completely take one hand out of the picture. That might have been what happened. Either way, it's definitely something that's a one stick job. So yeah, then we go back to the verse again, and this one introduces a new concept for the horns and guitar. They are provided some slightly moving melody lines to provide a little bit of extra movement underneath our vocals. It's still a restrained section, the volume's still down, but our instrument layering is a bit wider, and it just provides a nice small contrast. Maybe it is about building off of our first verse, but I don't know specifically if that's the themes they're going for. But it could definitely be read like that. We go back into our chorus, and I can't remember I don't think there was a bridge. I think, let me check this out real quick. We're going to have audio back, so maybe brace yourself. Oh, yeah. Bum, 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 ba da ba ba da ba da bum, bum, bum. Yeah, I remember that part now. And she's begun to have even more power over her vocals in this section, and really moving into that Mariah Carey, very over the top type of vocal style, which is, I mean, it works very well for what's going on here. I don't want to use that as a derogatory term. Not that Mariah Carey overdoes it all the time. Sometimes it works phenomenally. But it is sort of a staple when you're listening to a Mariah Carey track and you're like, okay, let's get to the final let's get to the final verse and see what she's gonna do with it. How high she's gonna go, how fast she's gonna move through these notes, what kind of run she's gonna do. It's kind of a game. But yeah, we begin to see this idea for a very powerful chorus idea begin to take hold and get even more powerful, which is going to lead us into our final chorus, which is the peak of the song where she just completely lets go. The band is at their most dynamic, or I should say at least at their loudest. And the vocalist is just going off on these variations of her chorus line. And then at the end, like final 20 or 30 seconds of this, we end up hearing a bit of some vocal scatting, much in the higher range. I think she even hits a whistle tone at one point before dipping it into full head voice. Like, it was bonkers. Again, so much control. The vocalist is really what sells this for me. The idea of everything, the vocal back and forth, the harmonies, utilizing horns instead of a bass guitar and another electric guitar, kind of bringing in sort of that big band sound with a rock vibe. There's a lot of really great aspects to this that fundamentally improve the track. But if there had been a different singer that didn't give it their all the way that she does, the song would not have hit me as hard. There's like I said, the vocal performance is what sells this. It's what takes the song from like a 7 or an 8 to a 9 or a 10 for me. And then the horns are holding a note out. The keyboardist is moving through some chords and quickly shifts down to the piano. Beat 4 of one bar, beat 1 of the next bar. And at that beat 1, nothing else is playing. It's just the piano and the vocalist back to that verse style of vocal delivery, the quiet, restrained, a little held back. For 2 bars, at least 2 sentences. Maybe that was 4 bars. And then that's it. It's this wild turnaround. I mean, what does the song mean to me? What is the story I'm getting out of it? And the best I can feel is having a sort of timidness and finding the strength and power to surpass that. Maybe you're feeling defeated in life and now you're overcoming your obstacles, your hurdles. Maybe you're just afraid to do something, and that's the verse. And then you have, this adrenaline, and you push through it, and you have this big triumphant moment of actually accomplishing something that terrified you. Whatever this sort of starting out small and getting bigger and enjoying the power of that moment. Like I said, it could be overcoming timidness or anything like that. Just being shy in general and maybe having to get in front of people and talk. Like any of this, just doing something that makes you feel small and in doing so makes you feel big kind of vibes. And we end on the biggest note, the most triumphant, the most herself. If this were a Disney film, this would be the character who is unsure of themselves, but through the musical number has found a strength in their character. As quirky as they might be, they realize that they're unique and awesome, and they are, just at the top of their game. But despite this transformation, in the last 5 seconds, and that's it, it's literally 5 seconds of the track. It is 2 bars, 4 bars tops of this, 200 bar song. It completely flips the script and is timid once again. Out of nowhere, like it is abrupt. Everything else has been very gradual shifts from one idea to the other. And then we have this very abrupt shift to show that nothing has changed or that there has been some sort of reversion back down to the original state that the character started in at the beginning of the song. And there's no even resolution to it. It just is, and then it's over. And I don't know what to make of it. Maybe it is about somebody pretending to have found strength, but get snapped back to reality and remember that they're still just the meek person they are. I don't know. We're gonna hit the lyrics now, I guess, and find out. Phenomenal track though. Really enjoyed the musical aspects of it. The vocalist is fire. I love all the harmonies that I would love to hear more of that though. I feel like our backup vocalists were underutilized, and maybe given that they don't play instruments, it looked like they were just on the mic. Maybe this is a band that cycles their lead vocals, which would be pretty cool. Because both of them are, from what little I heard here, are very solid vocalists as well. They didn't have a chance to showcase their range like our lead vocalist did, so I'm going to assume maybe they have more range. But even if they don't, I think they can still carry a song. Maybe not necessarily this one the way this vocalist did, but they're still solid vocalists. So that would be cool. That's something we don't see too often. A band with multiple vocalists that switch them off from track to track, depending on, what kind of vibe they want. Who does moodier mellow tracks better? Who does bombastic power tracks better? And give each vocalist a specific thing. And, sometimes let them go outside their comfort zone too. You don't want to pigeonhole people, but yeah, man, like I want to make a band that does that. Oh, man, that would be cool. Anyways, lyric time, San Fermin, Sonsick. I found me a hopeless case and resolved to love. Maybe we can find a decent place when I'm old enough. Found love in an empty gaze, tried to fix it up. I found me a hopeless case. Oh, oh. I mean, aside from maybe we find a decent place when I'm old enough. Unless that's just talking about, bringing into the age of these two characters. Or maybe just one character. We don't know what the hopeless case is yet. But this just seems like somebody who wants to or likes to or feels like that is the definition of love, is to fix someone, to Beauty and the Beast style, right? Find a partner who is just completely unruly and domesticate them. Or even just someone really down on their luck who's given up on love. And now it's, the task. Can I make this person, you know, remember love or believe in love again kind of vibe? Very Hallmark Christmas time romance vibes going on. Um Interesting way to start the track because it places the narrator, vocalist, main character in the role of somebody who has power and is confident in their abilities, which is the opposite of how I read the verse. So, yeah, let's keep going. Let's see where we're going with this. I'll fall for you soon enough. I've resolved to love. That's a line that's come up twice now. I'm resolved to love. Now I know it's just another fuck because I'm old enough. Oh, interesting. Sell lies like they're only drugs here to pick me up. I'll fall for you soon enough. Huh. So this actually flips it. The first verse, like I said, gives me like rom-com vibes, right? You've given up on love. I haven't. I'm going to turn you around on this. And then they live happily ever after, after an hour of arguing and realizing they hate each other and then slowly coming around, right? Very typical Hallmark rom-com. Our the second half of this verse flips it though. It says, I'll fall for you soon enough, but now I know that it was just casual sex. Because I'm old enough. I'm old enough to realize what this is now. It says, sell lies like they're drugs here to pick me up. So you tell me that you love me, you tell me this is more, but I know better. I'm older now. I can see through it all. But it's interesting that this is still bookended by I'll fall for you soon enough. Which, again, flips the script. First it was I'm going to fix you, and now it's I'm falling for you. The chorus, we have our back and forth. Oh, don't be scared. But it's a harder kind of fear. Hold on tight. You best hold on or else you're in it. Clear your mind. And when you think you're thinking clearly, it's alright. You're really tied up and committed. Oh, I'm just saying, but it's an awful lot of talk. It's not a fight for a fire that burns too quickly. You have to not be scared. Why do you want to hurt at all? You're all right. for someone's summer kind of sickness. So it feels like we're talking about a relationship that's possibly moving too fast. We have ideas of you better hold on. That it's scary. There's a fear to this. Um, that even when you think you're thinking clearly, you're not. And out of nowhere, now you're tied up and committed. And then we have some negativity to this all. Oh, I'm just saying it's not a fight and you don't have to be scared. And the other half is saying it's an awful lot of talk for a fire that burns too quickly. Talking about a relationship as if it were a match. It starts out real hot and spicy, but it moves too quickly and you run out of matchstick. Could have probably went for a candle metaphor, would have worked better, but whatever. You get the idea. It's about a relationship that started off not too great. Like I said, it almost sounded like it was a friends with benefits or one night stand kind of thing. It was casual though, right? And now it seems like it's evolved into something more quickly than either of them wanted. Interestingly, though, this ends up with the final line, "You're all right for someone's summer kind of sickness." Now, this could mean a lot of things. What is the summer? What would be a sickness of the summer? The only thing I really relate to the summer outside of weather, which it could be tied to the weather, is like schooling. Summertime is the no school time. It's when kids get bored and they go out to malls and well, maybe they used to. You sit inside and you're online all day, you're watching YouTube or whatever, and there's just nothing to do. So maybe go out and start little 3-month romances to fill the summer up. I don't know. Verse 2, all dressed in my Sunday best when I solve you, love. Maybe find a place where we could rest when we're old enough. We can have a dog and all the rest. We can live it up all dressed in our Sunday best. So is this visions of the future or like, chatting about what it'll be like when we're still together in 30 years, when obviously it's more of a summer fling? Sonsick at the T-ball games, I absolve your love. Maybe find a place and think of names when we're old enough. Make plans and we'll buy new things, try to fix it up. Sonsick at the T-ball games. So, once again, planning for the future. Possibly we'll have a kid, right? Interesting to call this sunsick. Like being homesick, wanting to be home. Well, this is sunsick, wanting to be with your son, but a son that isn't born yet. We hit the chorus again. It's the same thing. The summer just repeats. It's a summer kind of sickness over and over. We finish out with the chorus once again, and there is nothing new there. And our outro, everything cuts out and says, I'll fall for you soon enough. I've resolved to love. Weird. And this is kind of like, it's like a flurry of emotions at the beginning of a relationship, right? And beginning to envision this whole world ahead of you and saying, that's actually a pretty good future. I'm gonna settle with this. I'm gonna dedicate myself to this relationship. I resolve to love you, right? This is my goal now. Which is interesting because it showcases an understanding of oneself that I think the music doesn't lean into. Maybe I just have a completely wrong reading of the music, though. The music seems like somebody who's timid and finds power through something. This song seems to be about falling in love with somebody falling in love with somebody that wasn't supposed to be a serious thing, but seriously falling for them. And by the end, realizing that maybe you want to be with this person long term. I don't know. That's where you guys come in. Those are my thoughts on San Fermin Sonsick. Weird choice too. It's a word that I really have to use inference on that I'm still not 100% sure is what they mean by it, and it's not what I think is the core aspect of the track either. It's interesting they would choose that word for their title and not anything else that might more strongly convey what at least I think the song is about lyrically. Anyways, I have a lot of questions here. Somewhere I've disconnected with the music. I thought I had a pretty good read of the music itself. I think I have a strong read, or at least a mediocre read on the lyrics, but it contrasts what I thought the song was about musically. So if you've heard this before, if you have thoughts, opinions, if you have, seen interviews about it or whatever, let me know. I'm real curious about what's going on here, whether, your interpretation of it or maybe even just authorial intent. What does the band say this is about? Let me know. Above the comment section is a description box, and in there is a link for Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here, has links for everything related to the channel. You can find multiple ways to support the channel, find a link to all the communities around the channel, and so much more, including links to my music. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell, I greatly appreciate all three. We have 2 creator requests today, and that'll be it. We don't have a album review tomorrow, but I will be back Sunday for the live stream, and that will be up Monday morning for everyone else to watch. So, alright, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.